The Health and Education Facilities Board will now come to order. I detect a quorum. This is actually a new, we're going to start with consideration of the minutes from June 8th, 2023. Are there any questions or comments on the minutes from our last meeting? Can we get a motion to approve?
Move approval.
Chris Moff moves to approve. Is there a second? Shelley seconds. Thank you. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Meetings from June 8th, 2023 are approved. We have a new process here. Pursuant to Tennessee Public Chapter number 300, the board holds a designated public comment period at each meeting. Members of the public in attendance may provide comments to the board during such designated time. The time is now. No advance registration is required. Is there anyone who would like to address the room? Seeing that there is no one, we'll move on to the next section. We have amendment preliminary approval consideration of the request of the EC Nashville Christian Towers LLC for an amendment to its preliminary approval of the issuance not to exceed $29,500,000 multifamily housing revenue bonds in one or more series. By the way, this does not require a public hearing because we're just increasing the amount. Who would like to speak on behalf?
We did need a public hearing.
We had a public hearing, but we don't have to have another one, correct?
We need a new one because they did increase the amount.
Okay, so after this, we'll do a new public hearing then. Thank you for the correction. Who'd like to address the committee?
Major Lee with involved communities.
Come up front.
So my name is Major Lee. I'm with Involved Communities. We're the developer that currently co-owns the property with a nonprofit, purchased in late last year, December. It's currently in its bridge period. Our plan and current plan is to renovate the property with the use of 4% low-income tax credits, tax-exempt bond financing, as well as a Fannie MTEB loan. Due to construction cost increases unforeseen during this time period, we have come back to request additional bond authority for this project. We initially went into THDA with some waivers on potential construction requirements, some of which were denied, and therefore increased the scope of work for this project. So we are not currently meeting the 50% test with the total cost that we have for this project, and need to do so in order to close and begin this rehab for the residents there at Nashville Christian Towers. But some of the reasons for the significant costs, first of which is the purchase price. We had to pay $32.5 million for this project. It was a nationally marketed 177 unit, 100% Section 8 subsidized project here in Nashville, which, as you all know, Nashville has become a pricey market for developers to buy and rehab projects in. So that was a big reason for the now increased costs, as well as the construction budget. We're currently slated to invest $10.5 million in construction costs into improving this project. It was built in the mid-'60s and has never received a substantial rehab, so a lot of the systems in place that are on site are original cast iron, stack plumbing, original electrical, and all of that needs to be updated. Property's also getting a new roof, which is very expensive, and all the windows are being replaced on site to bring the project up to energy efficiency standards. So this is all being done for the residents, give them a better place to live. As I mentioned, it's a elderly Section 8 property, so many of these residents are vets. They've lost loved ones, or they don't have family that they could potentially go live with. A lot of them have disabilities and can no longer work, so they rely on this place, the Section 8 contract, which helps subsidize their cost of living. And without Nashville Towers, a lot of these folks could be homeless. So this is an important project for us. We feel it's important for the community, and that's why we've come back here to try to get it to the finish line.
Thank you. Questions from the committee?
What were can you give a couple of examples of the changes in the construction that were required in the review? That's kind of interesting.
The waivers? Are you talking about the waivers?
Yeah.
The biggest one was the windows. We had initially, given the windows were in good shape, we thought that THDA might be open to accepting a waiver to just refurbish the windows. So our initial cost for doing that would have been under $500,000, around $400,000. And now that cost has been driven up to around $2 million for full replacement of all the windows. This is a tower job, so there's windows on every story, all 12 stories, and they wrap around the building. So it's a lot of windows to replace, but at the end of the day, I think it'll be good for the project, bring about energy efficiency in the units and make the residents more comfortable, and it'll be better for the long-term sustainability of the project, but it is more money.
Other questions from the group? Public hearing. So is there anyone who would like to speak publicly regarding this matter? Seeing that there's no one, I'd like to call for a motion.
I move.
So move up for approval?
Yes.
Okay. Any second?
Second.
Second? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Approved.
Thank
Go
you.
forth and make windows. Is it considered arbitrage opportunity if we go invest in the window business?
That's always a good idea.
Always good.
That's a whole other story.
All righty, thank you.
Limitless margins.
All right, I'm on to agenda item number 5, preliminary approval, consideration of the request of Shelby Housing, the second LP for preliminary approval of the issuance not to exceed $50 million multifamily housing revenue bonds in one or more series. Who's here to represent?
Hi, my name is
Yes, sir,
Brian
please.
Drobnik. I'm with Holiday Ventures. So how's
Welcome.
everyone this afternoon?
Good. Hot.
It is hot. That's fine, though. So this is the final chapter in a rather lengthy story. It began in 2019 with Shelby House and a vision, right? Samaritan Recovery Community occupies between 4th and 5th on Shelby Avenue in East Nashville. They have dated facilities. They're not able to serve their clients to the best that they could. So what was envisioned was a partnership between SRC, Evergreen Real Estate, and Holiday Ventures to reimagine the entire block. And that imagination has led to the production of a brand new 70,000 square foot facility for SRC, both for office space and for inpatient care. They specialize in helping those in recovery from substance abuse disorder. 195 units of affordable housing called Shelby House, and a new structured parking garage to maximize the use of space on the block to allow for more units. We're calling this 4th and Shelby now. It's a late name change, but it's a distinct development on the block. It will be 286 units of housing, mostly studios and 1 bedroom, some 2 bedrooms, and it will serve households from 0% AMI up to 80% AMI. We have 70 project-based vouchers that have been committed by MDHA to the project, and what that allows us to do is to target extremely low-income households. If you look at the location, and we all know what's going on, right? We all know what's coming, what's going to rise up from the new stadium and on the east bank of the river. Affordability is at risk in East Nashville. And this is one more effort that will bring affordable housing into this neighborhood and into this community, so those who otherwise might not have ever an opportunity to participate in what's going on there will now have a place to call home. So it's the final phase or the final effort in a 4-year-long project, and one that we think will be a tremendous impact to the community.
Thank you very much for that concise but clearly compassionate description. Members of the committee, questions, comments?
Well, I did. So could you clarify? So I was reading on the proposal, and I saw with the difference between resident empowerment and then who we serve. And so I was noticing, like, for who we serve, it's for policemen, firefighters, teachers, young professionals. The resident empowerment was for goal setting, youth mentoring, youth adult and literacy, job readiness. So, love the concept. I just wanted to have a little bit more clarity. I know that you said with the vouchers for the people who are there. So how are you distinguishing between
That's a great
Who can stay there?
question. Well, it's who can stay there is based on the affordability requirements, so as long as the income qualify. The resident empowerment services is the entire panoply of services that we provide to our housing developments, right? And it's really determined by the needs of the residents. So this is, most of these are studio and one-bedroom units. There are not going to be a lot of kids in this building. So, those services will be skewed more toward the adults who live there. With the 70 PBVs, we're going to have very, very low-income households, people who have experienced homelessness or are at risk of experiencing homelessness. There may be some of SRC's clients living in this building as well. So having a partner on site, right, who can specialize in helping those individuals and those households is a tremendous advantage. But what we do is we tailor the services package to the needs of the residents living in the buildings.
So more single-family homes or just
Well, probably individuals and couples, maybe one child.
And this is phase 2. The 195 units of phase 1, where is that at?
It's on the same block. They're separate developments. They were envisioned as a larger sort of, holistically planned campus.
Okay, and what's the construction status of that? Is it people?
SRC will occupy their new offices in November. I think the 195 unit residential is March or April next year.
Okay.
It's well underway.
Any other comments or questions from the group? Before we call for a motion, I'd like to ask for a public hearing. So does anybody like to address this project? Seeing that there is no one, we'll call for a motion. Would anybody like to move to approve?
I move. Move for approval.
Second?
I'll second.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Consider yourself approved, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, zooming through, do we get Brownie Bird, like Gryffindor points for speed? I'm sitting in for, the great Mr. Day today. So, all right. So we're moving now to number 6, preliminary approval, consideration of the request of Northview Housing Development, LP, for preliminary approval of the issuance of not to exceed $43 million multifamily housing revenue bonds in one or more series. We also do need to call for a public hearing in this case, and we'll do so as usual post your presentation. So please introduce yourself.
Okay. Hi, my name is Jennifer Horn. I am a Nashville native and also a developer with Urban Campus and Core.
Welcome.
So wanted to give you a little bit of background about a public-private partnership development opportunity we're proposing on West Trinity Lane. So this is a partnership that is near and dear to my heart and a long time in the making. So I was born in the North Nashville community, moved to Southeast Nashville, and have seen a lot of the change, as I'm sure you all have, in communities around town. So in North Nashville, off West Trinity Lane, Born Again Church is a landowner, one of the major landowners in the corridor. And we're seeing the development that's coming around and across the street, and it is displacing some of the residents that live in the area, which I'm sure you're aware. And so our partnership was to do a ground lease arrangement with the church for unused land that sits adjacent to the sanctuary site and their community facilities to provide about 254 units of affordable housing. What's unique about this opportunity is that we're targeting active seniors, so 55 plus, who are in the workforce, and those who are making too much for traditional low-income housing, but not quite enough to afford to continue to live in their communities. So for us, the project is a combination of using a $43 million bond allocation, which we're applying for and would like to apply to the project, in combination with some impact investment in the form of mezz debt that we've obtained from an impact-focused partner, as well as our traditional financing methods. As a developer team, LMXD, who is a regional developer out of the Northeast, is partnering with us as a relationship build to provide guarantees and support, and has a $10 billion pipeline and track record of affordable housing developments. And so through our partnership, it would allow us to create a unique approach to housing that includes a very amenities-first focus to help seniors age in place, right, with a focus on health and wellness and well-being that connects them to communities they've been in for quite a number of years, but are starting to now have to leave because they can't afford to maintain that presence in the community. So what we would also like to propose is some partnerships for services. So that would be done with Tennessee State University, the Department of Public Health, and the Department of agriculture. We'll provide nutrition education, preventative care, outreach, health and education. So seniors understand how to balance kind of that live-work relationship as they age, right? It's new ways of working. And so that would also be a partnership with Urban League to provide some upskilling and training. So seniors could take different types of roles. So where they might be in a more physical type work environment now, they could transition into remote work or other opportunities that allow them to age a little more in place. But happy to pause there and answer any additional questions that you might have.
High school?
Oh, I went to Antioch High School.
Antioch, that's right. I was a tea sipper.
Okay, that's all right.
That's right.
We get along off the field. Yeah.
Martin Luther King.
Questions from the group?
Can you elaborate on the workforce housing? Is that to suggest that only working seniors would be eligible for the property?
No, it just says that you might be a senior who makes a little too much. You might have a retirement, right?
Okay.
But it prices you out of like extremely low income housing. So it might be too much for that environment, but not enough to support a market rent at a neighboring development.
254 units. If you could wave your magic wand, how many units do you think we need in Nashville to support all of our active community?
I
Should
probably
we add 2 zeros to that? Or
right. I think you might be closer to like the 5 to 10,000. Like it's quite a number because if you think of the baby boomer generation, right? Like I'm not too far off from that 55 plus demographic myself, and I think there's a greater need than maybe a lot of people realize because traditionally we think of like senior retirement as 70 plus advanced age, on a fixed income Social Security, but there are a lot of people who are not in a position to retire because of savings insecurity, right? Like if they were to retire, does it allow them to continue to, pay for the things and maintain that quality of life? And that's a risk a lot of people are facing.
This is undeveloped property at the moment, and as I was just watching at the map, and as I follow West Kennedy around towards Bordeaux, and it's fine. You're pretty close to the Cumberland there. Why hasn't it been developed? Are we worried about a flood again?
So no, not flooding issue. We're on the higher side of the river, but I think the challenge and blessing is that a lot of faith-based institutions own land in Nashville, so it's been preserved and held by that faith-based institution.
Okay.
But most of the stuff around it has been bought up and will become more luxury.
Okay, Marty, that's good. Great.
Other questions?
I guess the only question I have, and I think I ask this question every week, or every time we meet, when any trees be cleared, or?
So I have a sustainable heart, and so my goal is to preserve as much of the tree and forest line as possible, and that's what I think makes it unique, because our intention is that it'll connect and flow into the other neighboring development, so it'll be more of a campus feel rather than trees cleared and building plopped. We had suggested be more of a walking paths and trails to begin to connect some maternity lanes so it doesn't feel so cleared and vacant as we're seeing across the street in other parts
On
of
its
the
way there.
Right.
Is it accessible to public transportation?
It is. So within less than a half a mile is a bus stop. We would love to encourage something a little bit closer to our site, but in the interim, a shuttle could be provided to get residents to the bus stop.
What's the timeline again?
So for construction, it would be about a 24-month construction cycle. And we would be hopefully closing at the end of the year with an expected start in that first quarter.
Q1 of 24?
Yeah.
Okay, great. Any other questions from the committee? Seeing that there are no other questions, I'd like to open it up to a public forum. Is anybody would like to address the issue? Seeing that the public has not arrived today, we'll move to, is there a motion to approve?
I'll move it.
Chris moved to approve. Second?
I'll second.
Tied second over here. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Consider yourself approved. Thank you. Thank you. All right. Number 7, this is a final approval, authorizing all documents and matters necessary or desirable in connection with the request of Charter Village Preservation, LP, for final approval of the issuance not to exceed $34,600,000 multifamily housing revenue bonds, Charter Village Apartment Project Series 2023 at 333 Rio Vista Drive. There's not a required public hearing here because this is final approval. Who would like to address the committee?
Good afternoon. My name is Zach Simmons. Really pleased to be here with the board again, and happy to speak about Charter Village. As I mentioned, my name is Zach. I'm a senior vice president with Related Affordable. We're the sponsor for the project, and our plan is to acquire this property and undertake a significant renovation that'll take about 12 to 15 months. It's a 250-unit multifamily property in Madison on Rio Vista Drive, just around the corner from the police department, up in that neighborhood, if you can envision that. It's 81 bedrooms, 117 twos, and 23 three-bedrooms, mostly families, lots of kids. So our plan is to utilize the volume cap and tax credit equity to invest approximately $15 million into the project, into the property. It's about $60,000 per unit. It'll be renovation of 100% of the units, new windows, new roofs, new siding, new fan coil units, new concrete and landscaping, and a renovation of the management offices and community room. Since we met last in late fall, we have proceeded to get our volume cap allocation from THDA. We've had our pilot approved with MDHA. We have approval from HUD to assign the existing project-based rental subsidy contract, and we have our building permits ready to be picked up. So we're excited to be here. As I mentioned, the financing plan is the bond finance first mortgage and about $28 million in tax credit equity. The bond finance first mortgage is going to be structured with credit enhancement from Fannie Mae. So the bonds will be AAA rated with Fannie Mae credit enhancement, and Wells Fargo is the Fannie Mae DUS lender. We're ready to close in the next couple weeks and start up construction by the end of September. Happy to discuss the project in any more detail, but that's it.
Questions from the committee? This is, again, final approval, so we've been through this a couple times. Seeing that there are questions to the committee, I'd like to move for a motion to approve.
I'll move.
Shelley moved. Is there a second?
A second.
Matt, second. All in favor? Aye. Any against? No nays? The ayes have it, sir. You are approved. Final approval.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, guys. So we've got an information item. Is that for your reading? Or is this just post?
That's just for your information. It was included in the packages that went out. That's the only issue that's closed since the last meeting. That's actually the only housing issue that's closed this entire calendar year, just for your information. It was a supplemental closing.
Okay.
But yeah, so there's no action for those.
Did Dr. Davidson any update about in conversations with Josh Turner at the status of that?
I received nothing nor would have.
I don't have any information on that either.
Okay.
Any additional items or agenda items? We've got old business, board administration.
I think that's referring to what Chris was just referencing, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought we were there.
That's why I put that on the agenda. Yeah, it was a
I would like to
placeholder.
move that our chair pro tem contacts Dr. Aday and just ask him for a written report of where the status of the motion from, I believe it was March, and just an informal summary of progress or not on those issues to create a request for qualifications and all that for our legal counsel.
Is everybody okay with that?
That's the motion. Sorry if it was bungled for the, you get the idea.
Yes.
Hopefully someone might second that, or
I'll definitely second that.
Okay. Anybody against? All in favor of the motion? Did you have
Just a clarifying question, is that summary to be included in minutes or just something that we would revisit in the next meeting?
Oh, I love that question. Allow me perhaps to amend the motion and that we would receive that in email prior to the next meeting.
So the motion is to contact Mr. Aday and request an email that would be shared among the committee about the March motion. Clear now? Let's do a motion to approve that.
I'll move.
Shelley still approves. Anybody want to second that?
I can't, I've already made it.
Second, okay. All in favor?
Yeah.
Aye. Anybody against? Okay, so moved. Cindy, I'll work with you in that. And if there's any other business for the group?
The only thing, somebody suggested here, and it was a great suggestion, I'm sorry, I forgot who made the suggestion, that we kind of put together, there are certain questions that we always seem to ask, right? Like we always ask, like,
Yeah, the metrics.
exactly.
The metrics
The cheat
system.
sheet,
Right.
yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So how do we go, I mean, how do we go about kind of creating a rubric? So, you know,
That goes out to the potential
We're gonna ask
requester, like, these are things that, are important to us. Can you maybe highlight that in your presentation? And
I think that was one of the questions the chairman was going to work on.
I think he was too. Yeah.
We're happy to talk with Chair Pro Tem, Vice Chair, to work on that before the next meeting.
That would be
as
great.
well.
And in terms of what those are, you hear access to public transportation, number of units,
moving residents,
Affordability.
like current residents moving, in,
affordability,
displacement.
if there's displacement
Yeah.
issues. Oh, term, so can it go from being affordable housing, can it convert
Yeah.
to Buckhead level housing after a
Who
certain?
will they serve?
Yeah, who will it
Yeah.
serve?
new construction versus rehabilitation.
Rehab.
Yeah. There are probably half a dozen to that.
Different things that when cost changes would inform those changes, like we saw earlier.
Yeah.
And if appropriate, but it could have to happen this meeting, if he could distribute that electronically for our review in advance, that way we could come back with other questions and not take time, if that's allowed.
Sure.
Any other items then? If not, we're adjourned.
Oh,
Right.
goodness.
Right.
This has been a service of the Metro Nashville Network. If you would like to see this presentation again, or for more information on this and other programs, visit nashville.gov.